Welcome to Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite.
All right, everybody, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Another good episode from the HITS Canine Conference here in sunny Orlando, Florida. I'm Eric Stambro from Canton, Ohio. With me, as always, sitting next to me here, in Oklahoma, is Ted Summers. How are you?
Good, man. Just starting this day 2. We don't do anything today except interviews and run around and eat cookies and so do interviews.
Sit in and heckle people.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of which, I saw Ferguson next door. Every time I walk by there, you can tell it's him, just based on the accent alone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Who do we got right now? First thing this morning.
So first thing this morning, we have a I don't know, you 2-time guest? You've been on twice or once?
At least twice, maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe. Ted Daus, one of the owners of the HITS Canine Conference, a prosecuting attorney extraordinaire, a legal update guru. How are you, Ted?
I'm doing good this morning. How about you?
Good. Now, I don't know if this is just how you put it out there, but you looked relaxed behind that booth, kind of running some stuff and making calls and all that shit. Is it because it's here? Or are you faking it?
No, I'm faking it. It's the never let you see them sweat scenario. So, yeah, the administrative side of things has a hiccup there and a fire there that you put out. But luckily on the face of it for the vendors and the attendees, things are going great.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. This is, people-wise, got to be your biggest, I would think.
Yeah, it's got to rival D.C. because we're in the 1,200 handler range. And D.C. was that, and Chicago was around 1,100. Mm-hmm. So we were a little worried about, COVID, and we had to bump it off a few years and see, how would we bounce back? And man, have we bounced back right where we left off.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of people here.
Well, if you add it all together, there's a roughly 270 vendor personnel.
Yeah,
and then you run into another roughly 1,200 handlers, and then we have some staff, and then you have the lecturers. So, you probably run into around a 1,350 range or something if you count all the heads. And I'm not counting the bar staff, the wait staff, or the hotel cleaning people. So
this hotel's got a real nice pool, and it's getting used.
Oh.
There's a lot of bald, tattooed dudes in the before and after the conference out in the pool, and everybody hanging out. And
they won't let me cannonball in there. They're afraid of they may turn into a wave tech pool if I do that.
That's some bullshit right there, man. So, Ted and I taught yesterday morning in the one of the big rooms.
How'd that go for you?
It was packed full. I don't know how many that seats. A couple hundred?
Yeah, the room I taught in was like 370 something, and I was standing room only.
Yeah,
so.
We had all lined in the wall, so probably about the same. Definitely the biggest. We've had some big rooms that we've done before, but that was definitely the most people. And
yeah, we're knock on wood. We're lucky that we used to have like a big room and 3 medium rooms, and maybe like the smaller room for like a vet and diet and stuff. And now everybody's. Fortunately, hopefully we're putting out a good product that people like, and we're into big room 1, big room 2, big room 3,
nice. Medium
room, small room.
Yeah. Ted and I are both up front, and I think we kind of at the same time looked up. We were messing with the computer, looked up, and we were both like, "Oh shit, everyone's here."
People in the back are small enough.
We're very fortunate. So
we teach again tomorrow, 1:45. We'll see how many people.
You're up against me.
I know we're lost down.
No,
right?
well,
there'll be 6 people in our room, so we'll sit down with them in the chairs and have. A
HITS Canine Training Conference. This is America's premier canine training seminar, packed to the brim with the world's best instructors and me and Eric, all covering important topics. There's no better place to learn and no better place to network with other handlers, breeders, and trainers. HITS 2022 is being held in Orlando, Florida this year, August 16th through the 19th. And I know how you guys are. Everybody waits at the last minute. And in the post-Rona world, everybody's training budgets are being cut and everybody's deciding whether they're going to be able to get to go or not. So don't wait, because they're not going to have an infinite number of spots, and the price goes up after a certain date. So get signed up as soon as possible. It's in Orlando. We'll see you there. Be sure to hit them up. HITS Canine, letter K, number 9.net.
One of the best relationships we have in this podcast and in this industry is with the great people down at Kinetic Dog Food. The story of Kinetic Performance Dog Food is pretty simple. They wanted to make a better premium dog food for the dogs that need it the most. Their goal is to give every working and sporting dog a higher energy level, better performance, and better overall health through superior nutrition. So they formulated a line of food based on what they considered to be the optimal profile of a performance dog. They've done tons of research on this. This isn't their first rodeo. These guys know what they're doing. If you're a kennel, they will come to your kennel. They will see the problems that you have. They will check out what works for the dogs that you have. They're amazing people to work with. They drop ship a pallet right to you if you want. I know a lot of guys that use them. There's a bunch of different formulas on there, and 32K might not be for your dogs. Maybe the 26K works. They can adjust it. They'll give you the right ideas what to do in different parts of the year. Winter's different than summer. It's really a well-run, good dog food company. KineticDogFood.com. Be sure to check them out on social media too, man. They're amazing folks. KineticDogFood.com.
By now, you've probably all heard my story at least once. I'm usually getting tagged by dogs or hurting myself. So this next product is like near and dear to me because I actually use it. Quick Derm by Vet Care. It does great for keeping small things from turning into big ones. I use it at the kennel for clients' dogs that have some issues with skin stuff or have food allergies or have environmental allergies. Works great. Keeps hot spots from making giant hot spots. And it keeps my working dogs who inevitably find magnificent ways to hurt themselves from turning it into a giant vet visit. Stops little issues from becoming big ones. So it comes in a spray, it comes in an ointment, it comes in a dressing. It's great for creating a protective barrier and promoting wound healing. You really only have to use it like once a day. So there's no reason not to have it in the vehicle. Since it's temperature stable, you don't got to worry about it getting hot, getting cold, or anything like that. So put it in your first aid kit or put it in your cabinet. Vetcare.us on the internet. Quick Derm by Vet Care on on Instagram and on Facebook, and then hit them up with the discount code 10WDR for 10% off your first order.
So my entire time that I was a handler or a trainer in law enforcement, the cars at my department, in the departments that I trained, all had American aluminum accessory kennels in the cars. Different cars, man. Dodge Chargers, all Ford models, some Chevys, SUVs, cars, everything. We loved American aluminum accessories. It's a great product, a great company. They've been serving canine law enforcement community for over 20 years. If you check out their website, EZ, that's the letter Z, EZRiderOnline.com. They got testimonials. They got videos on how to. They got a list of everything they have. Just today, we made a post on the Working Dog Radio social media showing a dog that survived a really bad crash because of the American aluminum kennel in the back of the car. Check them out online, guys. EZRiderOnline.com. Just let them do their thing, man. Whatever car you got for your work, your patrol car, get a hold of them, American aluminum accessories, and get the best in the business.
Next up comes training courses online from our friends down at Highland Canine Training, Jason and Aaron Ferguson. So in the post-Rona world, training budgets have been getting cut. People aren't going to be able to travel, whether it be instructors or they be canine handlers and supervisors going somewhere else for training. So Highland has announced a lot of online training courses. One of those that sticks out to me is their police supervisor canine course. And it's no secret that one of the problems with canine tends to be some of the supervision issues. This course is specifically designed for administrators and covers utilization as well as liability and FLSA issues. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you'll receive a certificate of completion at the end. When you go to Tactical Police Canine Training, that's letter K number 9, training.com, and use the discount code WDR30, you'll get 30% off of that course.
So over the last couple of years, well, since it got canceled because of the COVID a couple of times, you've been doing some traveling and teaching because you retired from the.
I did retire in January of 21, and at the ripe old age of 55, the first 2 months were like, hey, this is vacation. The next 2 months were, how many begonias can I plant in my yard? And then the last month was, I'm 55 and I got to find something to do. Yeah. So I was very fortunate to pick up a part-time gig with the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. So yeah, I am retired 30 years as a prosecutor in Broward County, Florida, and working through just 3 days a week for Fort Lauderdale PD. And I like the 4-day weekend. So that's kind of a good groove for me right now.
Broward County is not really ground central of kind of dope cases, and it was pretty freaking close.
Well, yeah, South Florida. I mean,
Yeah.
you got Miami just below us, and the Keys, and then us. Yeah, there's pretty good hopping for drug activity.
Yeah. What about some seminars you've been doing?
We've
traveling.
We had a great 2021. Although hits did not take place, but then the flip side of that was we did about 8 or 10 the smaller ones. Which if anybody's out there that wants us to come, we do like e-collar classes, and Andy and I do like a canines in the courtroom where we talk about record keeping, testimony, and then obviously the narcotics dog search and seizure, and that's like a 8-hour one day, and we did like 7 or 8 of those through 2021 traveling. I did in Savannah, Knoxville. We went to Sheldon, Iowa. I'm sure I'm missing a few out there, but we get 40, 50 handlers to come to those one-day seminars, and
They work out though. That's pretty good.
Well, yeah, and it was enjoyable because now that I'm a 4-day weekend or part-timer, you get out and travel a little bit, and you meet some people in those seminars that, unfortunately, maybe the departments won't send them to Dallas, Texas, or wherever, but you get to know people better that way.
Yeah. So Ted's big thing, our Ted, is he's a case law guy. He can.
I just like to read
it and and use it, and we use a lot of stuff in our presentations and things, a lot because of what we're teaching, a lot of Graham versus Connor stuff. But one of the big things, and I've said this before, I told U.S.P.C.A. people, I said part of your certification needs to be like a 3 or 4 question written test about what court case, blah blah blah, and it could be Graham. But the big one that we've been really talking about over the last several years is Florida versus Harris.
Oh yeah,
and which you were involved in at the final level.
As I say with the Florida Attorney General's office, and Mr. Garr was the lead on that. He was a lawyer out of D.C. that had done a bunch of Supreme Court arguments, and amongst the team of us, I was one of the heads of the 5 families that worked behind the scenes and did the briefing and attended the argument before the Supreme Court. And I was actually granted, I'm a member of the Florida Supreme Court Bar, so I got granted, counsel of record status before the court. So I tell people that, I was in the team and I got to sit at the adult table for Thanksgiving before the United States Supreme Court, although I didn't get to say anything from the dais. But yeah, Harris was... with a great lawyer, Susan Shanahan, out of the Tampa Attorney General's office. We worked real hard on getting that done. And if you can win 9-0 before the Florida Supreme Court and reverse 6 years of just boondoggle, losing, bad opinions, wrong analysis, if there's everything in life, if that is an analogy going on in life about try again. I mean, we were losing in lower courts. We were losing in Florida district courts. We lost in the Florida Supreme Court. And the next thing you know, you just got to be confident in your legal scenario. You get lucky. You end up in the United States Supreme Court, and all 9 of them say, you've been correct in your argument for the past 6 years.
Yeah. Sorry, it's taken this long to do it. But so I call it like the Jurassic Park theory where people try to find the weakness in the perimeter, right? They go around and stuff like that. Has anybody on Florida versus Harris start trying to test the weak points, or if there is any?
No, it's a fairly strong opinion related to the old adage, the dirty word, false alerts. It pretty much tells you that's. They have said, Ruth Bader Ginsburg even said, for police officers, that's just a misnomer. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in theory of how a dog works. Mm-hmm. They recognize that dogs are odor dogs, and if you do real world searches, you don't know, and you can't really blame someone, blame the handler, blame the dog, say it's false, say it's wrong, because the dog could properly be alerting to odor. And so statistically, defense lawyers were saying, aha, you didn't find anything, so that's a negative. And they said, that's BS.
Yeah.
You got to go to training and certification and controlled testing environments to determine the reliability of the dog. And generally, across the country, in those environments, officers and their canine partners do real well.
And it did another couple of things. I think that it happened. And this is a Cameron Ford's big deal about kind of like getting everyone on board with the same terminology across the country. And so it's sort of in a roundabout way, I think, kind of codified what the difference between alert and final response. And it kind of, for our industry now, the plaintiff attorneys still are having a little bit of a hiccup, but I've noticed just since about 2015, there's a large increase in like guys from Indiana and Idaho to Georgia using the same terminology and trainers using the same terminology across the board.
Yeah, because it really got confusing in the
Yes.
law. And we didn't, on the legal side of things, judges and lawyers really didn't help you out on the terminology side, because you could read a case and they're saying, you're 100% correct, you're saying there's an alert. And to a dog handler, that could be just change of behavior.
Right.
And then you have like final indication or something like that. And the law is just saying, well, lawyers are using those and they're using them interchangeable, and judges are writing things. You know, generally judges are C students in law school, so they're hearing an argument and they're typing an order, and they're just going based off what was presented in court. And so they may be typing alert and they may be really meaning final indication. And so the law, when you read it, from a legal perspective, we think we know what's going on, but from a handler's perspective, we could have been, or the judge or the lawyers, confusing apples and oranges in terminology. So we haven't helped you out any.
Yeah, and I joke with some attorneys. I was like, for as precise as you people need to be, like with language, I was like, you probably should make sure that the precision here. And I use the same terminology with the difference between bite and grip, and because I'm like, they're completely different things, and attorneys are kind of like, oh, really? What's the difference? So we have to so the precision definitely requires some, I think, education.
Yeah, I always tell handlers when they're, whatever situation they're in, if they're giving a deposition, because some states take criminal depositions, or if you're giving testimony, or if you're meeting a day before with your prosecutor, prosecutors are just knuckleheaded lawyers too. So, make sure when you prepare that they're asking you the right terminology in the question so you can give it an answer. And don't be afraid on the stand to correct someone. Maybe not correct them, but you can always clarify. Yeah. So, excuse me, sir, you're saying alert. I want to make sure I'm exact in my answer. So can you explain to me what you mean by alert, and I'll give you a solid answer. And a lot of times it's two good things. Is one, okay, they clarify what they mean, and you can say, oh, in my world, you mean final indication. So I'll answer a final indication. But the best part is if you ask a lawyer a question and all they know, defense attorneys, they know enough to be dangerous, that they know a buzzword or they know a phrase or they've read two cases, and then you go, okay, so you asked me about an alert, sir, just to clarify so I can answer it correctly, what do you mean by alert? And then they'll be going humming, when the dog does its thing or something.
Yeah,
I'm not real sure what that means, sir. And it's funny because when you turn the tables on them, they're just throwing out buzzwords to see what the response is, and they don't even know how to define their own question.
And I've testified a billion times, and I always tell guys, listen, you got to have your testimony game tight. You got to take it seriously and be really good at it. But I also tell them, be careful. If you're going to cite a case while you're on the stand, you better know that case.
Oh, well, I'll do you one better. Don't. I mean, there's one. I've learned one scenario in practice and law: stay in your lane. Mm-hmm. I've never been a police officer. I've never done a felony traffic stop, and I've never trained a dog. And I think I'm fairly well versed as a lawyer on dog, at least narcotics dog training you're going to get. Let me make the argument and throw out the case law. You teach me the training, the terminology, and how it's done, and the questions and answers. But when either I assume your role, I'll screw it up, or you assume my role, you'll screw it up.
Yeah, and you might get away with it on a dog case, like saying Florida versus Harrison. They've never heard of it, but What if he has and you don't?
And if they haven't heard of it, they're going to take a break.
The
They're
judges
like-
haven't heard of it.
And they're like, hold on a second, we're going to go look that up. They're like, wait.
Well, Harris is probably a fair case if you feel comfortable enough and you've read it and you've been to some seminars and you learn about it to probably talk about or say, because it's kind of like Miranda now.
Yeah,
everybody
right, I
gets
gotcha.
it. But yeah, don't pull up, Iowa versus Hawkins or something on this day, and the next thing you know, they're like, "What's that?" And you're like, "I don't know. It's somebody told me it says I can do what I did."
Yeah. My trainer had mentioned that before. Or something.
So speaking of like weird, like stuff like that, I got forwarded a case from a handler. It's a state level case in Florida, and that's what you reminded me of the story behind Harris about how they like you were continuing to lose. And it's that Kreller versus State where they we're not videoing right now, but Ted's nodding, and I got forwarded and I was like, what in the hell? Like, and I read through it several times. I'm like, am I reading this right? And I sent it to an attorney, and they're like, where the fuck is this? Yeah. And he was like, what is happening here? Well, and it's a wonky ass, and it's a state thing. So can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'll try to do this a 60-second succinct scenario. But first of all, for anybody that's reading this in the country, or if you're a handler in Florida hearing this, the sky is not falling, because on the legal side of things, Kreller is from the 2nd District Court of Appeal, and it's from April of this year. Yeah. And there's another case, and it just escapes me. It begins with a B, like something like Bradshaw, Bradley, or something, that is 180% the opposite from another District Court of Appeal. So those two are in conflict. And the lucky thing that the Kreller court did was we recognize we're ruling 180 degrees different from our sister district court in another part of the state, and at the last part of the opinion they say, so we certify conflict, which means we're automatically shoving this to the Florida Supreme Court. The good thing about so Kreller is not law in the state of Florida because it's still what we call in my world a case in conflict, because it hasn't finally been decided, and it is before the Florida Supreme Court. Now, the timeline, I can't tell you, 9 months, 10 months, 14 months, we'll have a Florida Supreme Court opinion that will pick, I don't know, the opposite case. Right. Yes. I think it's Bradshaw, Bradley, whatever it is, or Kreller. And let me just tell everybody that, luckily we're a 6-1 conservative vote of our 7 Supreme Court. So keep our fingers crossed that they'll say Kreller is a knuckleheaded, poorly decided decision, and I'll tell you what it's about. But so right now, don't worry. This is not the apple falling from the tree, hitting Newton in the head or something. There's no need to jump ship, sell all your dogs, and quit a canine program, because I get a lot of those. But here's the scenario: is real quick is that everybody I would hopefully is generally familiar with Rodriguez, the interruption of the traffic stop to run the dog type of thing. Kreller comes from the scenario of that it was a undercover police officer who witnesses a traffic violation. He calls for a marked unit who gets there very quickly, and together they do a traffic stop. And they're on scene for roughly 4 or 5 minutes, and they're having a conversation with someone who's, I'm not going to say is rude or belligerent, but is not complying. They ask for consent, and the guy says no, and they ask you, will you get out of the car or something, and the guy says no, and they have a conversation with the gentleman for 4 or 5 minutes on scene. Now, here's the kicker. So they have a Maryland versus Wilson scenario. That's the one where you can order people and passengers out of a vehicle just for officer safety alone, just that fact. So the canine arrives roughly 5 minutes later, and he arrives and says, well, I need these people to get, or I forget if it's 1 or 2 people, but the occupant or occupants out of the vehicle, because I'm going to run my dog, and I don't want the guy to start the car or put it in drive if it was running, and I don't want to have him the ability to run over me or the dog, or et cetera. So it's a safety factor related to running the dog. Right. And so they get him out of the vehicle, and they run the dog, and the question really is that if the law from the United States Supreme Court says that as an officer makes a traffic stop, the officer can have those people exit the vehicle for his or her safety. Well, the first 5 minutes, 2 officers were on scene, and they never made the person get out of the car for their personal safety. So 5 minutes goes by, I think it's 2-on-1 actually, one driver and 2 police officers, and they have no officer safety concern that they say to get the person out of the vehicle. So then the canine happens, and Maryland versus Wilson doesn't say you can order the driver out of the car to run the dog.
Right.
It says you can order the people out of the car. Officer. So they sold the court, they being the defense attorney, the philosophy, well, for 5 minutes, 2 officers were on scene. They didn't order anybody. They didn't have a safety concern because they took no action to protect themselves by ordering other people. So what officer safety concern was there 5 minutes later when the 3rd armed officer shows up on scene? So I get the argument. And so I disagree with it. I conceptually see it, because the kicker is going to be, in nowhere in Maryland versus Wilson does it say, like, there's a time requirement for an officer to determine when it's not safe. And certainly you can perceive for 2 or 3 minutes that I believe this to be a safe scenario, and something at the 4 or 5 minute mark, you now believe it's not a safe scenario and you want to order them out of the vehicle. There's no time requirement in that decision-making process in Maryland versus Wilson. And this court seems to suggest that, well, if you didn't do it in the first 4 minutes and your partner didn't see it or doesn't have a safety concern, how could you develop one 4 minutes later?
Because the corollary to that is, if that's the case, you have to order everyone out of the car as soon as you approach it.
Right, and Maryland versus Wilson doesn't say that.
No, and they don't do that. So
you have to make that determination within 45 seconds of the traffic stop. It doesn't do that. So I just think it's wrongfully decided. They said, well, you can order them out of the vehicle, but if it's done for the purely, let's just say this. Let's say you have no safety concern. No furtive movements. There's nothing going on, nothing hinky. They'll say the person's talking normal. They're giving you eye contact. You don't see any bulges in the wrong places or anything like that. So you don't really have it. Then I get the argument on the side that, 5-10 minutes into the stop, you can't say, I'm going to order you out. Because the Maryland versus Wilson isn't an order you out for the dog. No. It's an order you out for the personal safety of the police officer.
And MIMS, too.
Pennsylvania MIMS 1988. That was the original.
Yeah.
You can order a driver out only.
Yes.
And then in 94, 95-ish, they changed it in Maryland versus Wilson to you can order all occupants out. And then in 99, I believe it is Arizona versus Johnson, you can order everybody out. So they reiterated that at a regular traffic stop. And now you can detain everybody, even the passengers, for a reasonable amount of time. And if you're going to call me or email me, I don't have a watch time on what's reasonable. But in the dog world, a 15 to 20 minute deployment's reasonable. So I say you can detain passengers roughly. It's a fair estimate for 15 or 20 minutes at a routine traffic stop. So they have reiterated. You're 100% correct, Ted. Yeah. Late 80s MIMS, mid 90s Maryland, and then recategorized it in Arizona versus Johnson in 99. So 3 times they have confirmed that you can order people out of a stop.
There was that case in Wyoming. It was the 10th Circuit where a trooper, like, the only thing that he had was, like, he asked him to, like, lean forward and grab something. There's 4 people in the car. As he leaned forward, he saw a syringe in a dude's pocket, and he was like, out of the car, everybody. And they were like, oh, and after a search, like, one of the passengers in the back seat had a bunch of meth in her purse or something. And they were like, oh, you can't order passengers out. So it was another, I can't remember the name of the case off the top of my head, but it was a Wyoming state trooper or something. But a similar timeline.
Well, we had a screw up in Florida, believe it or not. I wish I could remember the name of the case, but it's been quite a year. So I'm going to say 7 years ago, and I'm reading my weekly updates back then on Wednesdays, and there's a case, and they cited all old law. So unfortunately for the Attorney General's office, they weren't on top of the game. The defense attorney had cited old, out-of-date law, and I'm reading it and going to say the judges, a 3-judge appellate panel instead of Florida said, well, you can't order passengers out of the vehicle. I said, that's been the law from the United States Supreme Court since 99. Yeah. And then they had to jump through hoops, ask for rehearing, and beg for change. The Attorney General's office was getting emails and phone calls from lawyers, prosecutors all across the country and the state saying, dude, 10 years ago, this changed.
Yeah.
And it took like 6 or 8 months for them to, and then they finally the judges wrote an opinion, and to save face, because, again,
right,
humor. Mm-hmm. Judges were C students in law school. They said, well, if the attorneys had presented the correct law and cited the correct cases, we wouldn't have erroneously made this decision, but today we correct our decision based upon the correct law. So clearly they're doing their own research, and their law clerks maybe should be smacked in the hand with a ruler too. But yeah, so things on that, you're right. A lot of the country still, because I went to law school, you couldn't detain a passenger.
Yeah.
And midway through my career, the law changed, and you can detain passengers. So if you're, you're a pre-2010 law student, you're thinking, well, you can't detain a passenger, but you certainly can.
So since the last time you were on, the country keeps progressing more into marijuana, medical or legal. More states have added it. Went from to recreational, from whatever. Who is doing it right? Who is doing it wrong? What seems to be kind of the average in the opinions of the state Supreme Courts?
Well, most of the states across the country, I would say, are saying they're setting rules and parameters even on legal marijuana. Like, in Colorado, you got to have it from a licensed dispensary. You can only, believe it or not, if you're a resident of Colorado, you can have a little more recreational. And if you're just a vacationer, you can have a little less recreational. And there's still amounts. Like, I'm kind of out of touch with what the amount is, but let's just say hypothetically, under no circumstances can you have more than like 15 grams or something like that. So what they're saying in most jurisdictions, Colorado is an exception. Massachusetts is an exception. They really don't have odor imprinted marijuana dogs, because they say if your dog is imprinted in Massachusetts on that it doesn't provide probable cause. But in most states, those are the minorities. In most states, whether you're legal or medical, they're saying the dog is still probable cause if it's imprinted on marijuana, simply because you get to investigate if it turns out to be marijuana, whether that person's in lawful possession or not. And I kind of give the analogy, if everybody can swallow the cod liver oil, it's no different than a DUI. I pull you over, there is some alcohol involvement, I investigate the alcohol involvement, and you pass your roadsides or you don't. And then if you pass your roadsides, you move along. And if you don't pass the roadsides, you get arrested. So if I get a probable cause determination of marijuana, let's just say, an alert, and I find that it is marijuana, I investigate legal or medical, and I look at the hoops that you have to have. And if you pass the hoops, the four things to show me that you were in legal possession, you keep it and you move on. If it turns out to be a pound, which you can't have anywhere legally or medically, you get arrested. And the courts have said, that you get to investigate the possession.
The only reason I know this, so Oklahoma is medicinal. Pennsylvania is also. And on the same day, both of their state Supreme Courts released decisions that were 180 degrees from each other. So the state Supreme Court of Criminal Appeals in Oklahoma just deferred to basically the 10th Amendment, or to the 10th Circuit, and said the mere presence of odor, rather the legal status of the mere presence of the odor is enough to generate probable cause search. Okay. Pennsylvania said the exact opposite. They're like, the mere odor is not enough. And it was crazy because they came out the same day. And then when that happened, I get it today. I had the sheriff's department that we sold a dog to, and their district attorney's office was asking, so we can get people out of the car for marijuana. And I gave them the same analogy, because they're like, well, if we smell it, do we still need the dog? I'm like, no. And so I asked this ADA, I said, so if you have an officer that walks up to a vehicle and they smell alcohol, what do you think? And he goes into this long-winded answer about, well, we would assume they would be under the influence of alcohol or recently consumed alcohol. We would have to do roadside sobriety tests and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, it's no different. And now it's regulated. I was like, so you get to ask the question, where's your permit? Is it in the correct container? How much do you have? Where'd you get it? Is it your, all this other stuff?
100%. And the bottom line is, if they check all the bells and whistles, they keep their marijuana and they go on their way. If they don't check the bells and whistles, they get arrested. So that they comply with the law or they don't. And you should have the right to arrest people that aren't in compliance and leave people alone that are. That's just it.
Yeah, Ohio is medical for the last few years. It's not real super prevalent. The state has really got voted in, but they are slow rolling, dragging their feet, I would assume.
They're not as slow as fucking Arkansas.
But so, it's a prescription and all that other stuff, but you can't put flame to anything in Ohio. It's not, it's got to be vape or it's got to be oil or whatever. And people still don't get that. They're like, I whatever.
Yeah, Florida's been great. We've been very lucky. There's a case called Johnson out of the Panhandle and Owens that have come up in Florida in the past year, 18 months. and they're along the lines of, yeah, we know we're a medical marijuana state, and Owens even talks about the hemp conflict.
Yeah.
And they say, we have a little bit of a hemp issue here, and they flat out just quashed it. They said, we don't care if it could be hemp or whatever. The dog imprinted on marijuana is still probable cause. And Owens does you one better. You're never going to hear a lawyer tell you this or see a court generally do it. I mean, it's 1 in 1,000. Owens went on to say, look, we're going to tell you even in the future. It's a question that's not before us, but let's go ahead and tackle it.
Nice.
Even in the future, if Florida does legalize it recreationally, it's still going to be probable cause in the state of Florida.
like it.
So, because you're always going to have some parameters and restrictions and regulations on it. So, investigate whether you follow, within the bounds.
And this is another, like we're talking about the precision of the word, the use of the word alert versus final response. And it's the same thing, because even attorneys, like both prosecuting attorneys and plaintiff attorneys and defense attorneys, are using the term legal. And I'm like, no, my 6-year-old niece can walk into a convenience store and buy Gatorade. That's legal. Marijuana is regulated. Huge difference. And they're like, well, you know what I mean. I'm like, look, I understand. Like, I get it, but be precise, because there's this misnomer that we keep using that word legal, and it's regulated.
Right.
It's just like alcohol is regulated. It's like tobacco is regulated. It's fucking regulated.
I'm guilty of that myself, but I'm trying to slide into the terminology of recreationally allowed to be used for recreational use, and so that's where I'm trying to reinvent my own terminology there to slap myself on the wrist, because I fall into that troop. I say it's a legal state and it's a non-legal state. I'm trying to say it's a recreational state or it's not a recreational state.
And I think the misnomer, like when we say legal, it gives, I don't want to say lay people, but it gives the general population the impression that it's no different than possessing Skittles. Like, I mean, and I'm like, I mean, like you said, like Eric said, you can't put flame to it in Ohio. You have to use edibles or vapes or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so it's highly regulated. But I think the misnomer with people that are just like normal people think they're like, oh, because it's legal, I can do it and have it, and there's no regulation, because there's not really any regulation of, I could have 400 pounds of cigarettes if I wanted, as long as they've all got their tax stamps on them. Mm-hmm. And I'm of age, so
don't let the new 87,000 IRS guys know that you didn't pay your tax stamps on your 80 pounds of cigarettes.
What I'd like to see in the states that are legalizing, recreational whatever, is the cops slaughter these people on DUIs. I can't fucking stand it that they think it's okay to drive around all day long and smoke weed.
Yeah, Florida's civilians are completely ignorant. They wrote into our medical marijuana a caveat that you can't be on a bus, drive a commercial vehicle, drive a car. You can't have it on a boat. It's actually in the law, and so many people, Ted's 100% right. They say, well, I've got a medical marijuana doctor and card, and I got it, so let's go out and ski on the ocean and get high. And the law doesn't even allow. It says you can have it, but you medically, you can't do it that way.
I can't. It drives me insane. I can't stand it.
One of the things in Oklahoma that's been happening, because they are doing that in Oklahoma, like that exigency case for blood draws generated in Oklahoma for the alcohol side. My buddy Rob was part of that deal, and but they're starting to look at the exigency too for like marijuana crimes, or for like marijuana intoxication while operating vehicles. And at this point, from what I can tell, the only thing that's triggering those is like an accident or some kind of, there's a reason to start investigating the exigency to justify blood draws to determine toxicology. But they are doing it, I've seen a couple of cases and heard of a couple of cases where they're doing it because, quote unquote, based on their experience and circumstances, they know the difference between what burnt and unburnt marijuana smells like. And I'm like, that's great, unless they're like Eric, where they can't burn it, so they that doesn't have a smell then.
Ohio, the gummy bear state.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Since you've last been on, what has changed or what's been new outside of Florida, I guess? Because we've been talking about fucking Florida. It's a sunny place for shady people. So what new cases have come out that everybody needs to be paying attention to?
Well, I hate to say this over the podcast. I don't want to educate any defense attorneys.
Well,
But there's a case out of the 11th Circuit that's really causing anxiety for people. And since it is a federal circuit court, I mean, those
Right.
folks on that court are one nomination away from the United States Supreme Court. And generally, the 11th Circuit, which is over Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, is generally thought of as a fairly conservative court. And there's a case called Campbell. And I made a prediction because it was just decided initially by a three-judge panel, and they granted en banc. Not to get too much into the legal Latin, but it makes you very rarely does a court, maybe once or twice a year, do they say, "Hey, the three guys in your pack got it wrong, so we'd like all 11 of you to hear this." Yeah. And they reheard it with all 11 judges, and Campbell was an extension of the Rodriguez interruption case.
The 26-second case.
And so I was telling people for a long time, don't worry. The 11 folks, when it gets up there, are going to say that the three got it wrong. And it turns out, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, the en banc panel, all 11, voted a majority that the three got it right. And it really, what it boils down to, because I don't want to, anybody can look it up or get in touch with you guys to forward it to them or anything. But the bottom line is, it says you can go up to a window. If you're doing traditional kind of interdiction and conversation with somebody, you can talk about anything related to the traffic stop, maybe where they're coming from, where they're going. You can talk about, insurance and registration, and you can even talk about officer safety issues, related issues. But if you get into general crime or other superfluous questions, like maybe you just say something along the lines of, how about those dolphins or something as you're up there trying to maybe do interdiction, or, do you like this weather? I know those are knuckleheaded questions, but something like, maybe you say something about a bumper sticker or something about their car or something, or who knows. And they're saying the more afield you get from related to officer, insurance, traffic, or the crime itself, like let's say speeding or something, and where you're coming from and where you're going was generally accepted. But if you get outside those parameters, you could ask a question. It could take 2 questions that they deem, let's just say, wasn't targeted towards the issue that you had pulled them over for, and maybe each question is 10 to 20 seconds long with an answer. So they say those 2 questions, because they're unrelated to anything for the purpose of the traffic stop or your safety, now has extended the stop by 40 seconds. And that 40 seconds is an illegal detention. Wow. And so, you really, in that case, the officer was on the a body cam, a car camera with a mic. And if you read Campbell, that poor officer got a colonoscopy by the 11th Circuit, because they went like at the 11:37 mark, he said this, and at the 11:47 mark, the response was yes, and then at the 11:59 mark, and they spent like 17 minutes analyzing every other minute by the second, and they ended up coming with a crazy ruling like, so out of the 19-minute conversation, there was 1 minute and 35 seconds of erroneous questioning, and therefore that made the detention extended and illegal.
When that happened and like people freaked out and I read it, I was like, come on. Like, I understand Rodriguez and I understand the spirit of Rodriguez, like what it's intended to do, right? Like if you've got a dog, 35 minutes away across county, I get that, right? But I personally don't genuinely believe that the Supreme Court of the United States intended for Rodriguez to be that restrictive.
Well, it is crazy because Florida's one of them. So let's give Florida some negative love here. We have a stupid case called Underhill, which I think was the dog deployment was like within 3 or 4 minutes of the traffic stop. Now, I don't care if you're the fastest cop in the world, a basic traffic stop's going to take 8 or 10 minutes. So you're going to be there anyway. And they said, because the police officer stopped writing the ticket at the 3-minute mark to get his dog out and got an alert at the 4-minute mark, you've illegally detained him for an extra minute. And I go, if this wasn't even a dog case,
the guy'd be there for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So how can you illegally detain somebody when you'd been there anyway?
All right, we love the Perkinsons down in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training. They are great people, great trainers. They got a good business model. They're awesome folks. We've been with them for a long time. They're also super smart, and they understand that a lot of agencies are struggling to have manpower, so they're not sending people away for training. You guys have been there. You know, you put in, denied, lack of manpower. So they've created an online course section of their website, tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com. You get on there under training, the online course. But here's the best thing is they offer a canine supervisor course, which we know a lot of police canine supervisors don't get to go to training. They don't know as much as they should. Right here online, the course discusses topics such as proper selection of dogs and handlers, proper deployment, effective allocation and utilization, as well as liability and the FLSA issues, which we know is where all the legal stuff comes from, interdepartmental. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you will receive a certificate of completion at the end. They're offering an amazing discount, guys. 30% off using the discount code WDR30. It's a no-brainer. If you're a police supervisor and you guys have manpower issues and you can't go, get on tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com under the training tab. Get on that supervisor's course, man. I'm telling you, it's a smart decision.
Another one of our favorite partnerships with the podcast here is the one and only Dogtra. The Dogtra guys have been producing some amazing tools in the dog training world for a long time. Everything from e-collars, GPS tracking, ball trainers. If it's electric and you use it with a dog, they've probably done it. They're the best. They are revolutionizing the way you communicate with the dog. I use it daily, whether I'm using pets. I use the 200C on most of our pets. Most of my patrol guys will use a 1900 hands-free, 1900S hands-free, and then I use the ball popper pretty much daily with all of our detection dogs for imprinting on our box protocols. So hit them up at Dogtra Official on Instagram and Facebook, and then you've got dogtra.com. And when you go there, if you use the discount code WDR10, they'll give you 10% off a single item over $200. So if you're looking at a 1900S or that Ball Popper Pro or one of those things, it'll knock a substantial chunk off there. So hit them up, doctor.com, WDR10.
So everybody knows that Ted and I not only train police dogs, we train pet dogs, right? We train dogs. So it's why our relationship with Ray Allen Manufacturing is so important. These guys have been doing this so long. They knew and they understand that dogs are dogs, and it's not just working dog people that need things for their dog and dog training. So you go to rayallen.com. They have everything dog related that you need. Anything that when it comes to dogs, pet dogs, your pet, training dogs, police dogs, dogs you're training for other departments, anything you need, rayallen.com. They've got it. You can get on there. So if you're ordering stuff for police dogs and if you have a pet side, you can get it all in one, man. They ship it out. Got a nice big box full of a whole bunch of stuff. There's nothing better than getting a big box of dog training stuff in the mail. They also are great to us, and they offer a discount code Working Dog Radio, all capital letters, Working Dog Radio for 10% off. Check them out, rayallen.com. Great people. Ted and I use them every day.
Super excited to have American Aluminum Accessories on board with us here at the podcast. These guys manufacture a wide variety of products, from high-quality cam locker toolboxes to an extensive line of products designed to meet the ever-changing needs of the law enforcement community. Around 1992, due to the demand for safe and secure transport for a local law enforcement agency's canine unit, they introduced the very first in-vehicle Easy Rider canine container. So it was basically what we now call just our inserts. They have continuously grown and expanded the products, catering to the needs and the wants of their valued customers and high-profile clientele, and catering specifically to law enforcement. Over the years, as the needs have changed for law enforcement, they've evolved and expanded the products to include inmate transport systems, the canine training aids, which I use quite a bit of, canine inserts. Every one of my guys has one of those things. And if you're not even have to be in law enforcement, I have several friends that are civilians that work lots of dogs that have the inserts put into their cars too. So if you got one that fits, you can do it. They also do contraband and animal control systems, just to name a few. So be sure to hit them up. The website is Easy Rider Online. So that's the letter E, the letter Z as in zebra, rideronline.com. If you're looking for them on Instagram and Facebook, it's American Aluminum Accessories. Feel free to hit them up there too.
So our first and oldest sponsor that's been with us from the beginning is Arno out at ALM, out there in Las Vegas area. Arno is a great dude. He makes great stuff for police work and sport work, suits, tugs. I'm telling you right now, his tugs are the best in the business. You can't get any better. Multiple colors. I buy boxes of them from him, give them out to everybody. I've got a bite suit from him. Love it. I've had it for a little over 3 years, and it's holding up like a champ. Ted's got a suit that he's had forever from ALM. We wouldn't go anywhere else, man. We love it. Arno is such a good dude. His ALMcanineequipment.com is the website. Get on there. He's got pre-made suits. He can do custom suits based on your measurements. He's got stuff already made up. If you kind of get a kind of generic large size, maybe for everybody, the colors he has, man, is really cool. He can put a lot of stuff on those suits. Check him out, ALMcanineequipment.com, and use the discount code WD Radio for 10% off.
Running a kennel is one of those things that I always worry about, is cleanliness and safety of dogs. And it seems like it's an ever-changing issue, being able to house dogs and move things around, everything else. So the guys at Horizon Structure make this as easy as possible. Literally, the only thing you have to do is have water and power hookups, and they deliver it, and you can put dogs in that day. And comes on a trailer. They just drop it off. You plug it in, put dogs in it, and you're ready to rock. You keep them clean, you keep them safe, you keep them cool in the summer and warm in the wintertime. And it's completely custom. You can go complete mild to wild. I've seen some that were stainless steel all the way from top to bottom on the inside. And then I've seen some for a bulldog breeder that, had smaller gates because those things can't jump. So if you reach out to them, they're sitting there waiting for you to call and help you through the custom design process. They have everything from 2 dog ones up to, I want to say like 18 or 20. It's a lot you can put a lot of dogs, indoor, outdoor runs. So anything you've ever dreamed of, they've got it, have done it, or can do it. So they've taken all the guesswork out of building it. Everything is pre-done to your specifications, and it's assembled, dropped off, boom, you're ready to rock. Things are amazing. Rigney has one. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Go check out his Instagram, and you can see he's posted it up there before. Go look Horizon up at Horizon Structures, spelled out. On the internet, it's horizonstructures.com, and you're going to look for the link in there that says commercial dog kennels, or give them a call, 888-447-4337. They'd love to talk to you and get you started on the way.
So let's pivot away and into HITS 2023.
Yeah, Phoenix, August 15th through the 18th, if I'm moderately close. So roughly the same time of year. It's going to be at the Westin Kierland Resort, which is actually in Scottsdale. Yeah. Great hotel.
It's like a 5-star place or something.
Yeah, it's really nice, and you got a great price. Yeah, I'm a little hazy because I'm here in Orlando, but it's like roughly $121 a night or something close to that.
That's really good, yeah.
And right, literally like 50 yards away is like a Pinky's Up shopping district with bars and restaurants. So you literally, you're almost self-contained from walk-in and drive-in and all that kind of stuff. And there's 10 restaurants, 4 bars, and you can go buy a Coach purse or a Louboutin shoes or whatever you want to do. And it's literally across the street, 30, 40, 50 yards of walk.
Nice. And
everybody's listening to this, and they're like, I'm bringing my wife.
Yeah.
Don't let her hear it.
That was kind of the hint.
Yeah.
If there is a honey-do list that comes, you would probably like to bring her to this because she can rack up the visa points as you're in class.
I think that place has like a lazy river or some shit.
It has 2 pools, the lazy river.
Oh, this is the place that you can surf? Do they have?
I don't know about that.
I wasn't the other one that we got that hits the one that was canceled for COVID. Didn't they have like an outdoor surf pool?
It's the same place.
I think it has like
2 outdoor pools and a lazy river and a golf course and a spa.
I think I'm gonna have to check now, but I'm pretty sure they have like the surf, like you can surf on like that man-made wave thing.
Yeah, no
It
thanks.
might be true.
In the desert.
For me, that's
I'm
called
about
a
it.
broken wrist or something.
I'm about
That's
it.
concussion.
That was invented by an orthopedic surgeon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Self-fulfilling.
When can guys sign up for that?
Yeah,
You
will
can
give
open it?
us, 1 week to decompress from Orlando, and I would certainly say by the September, the website will be switched over. You could sign up immediately. If there's any vendors out there that are interested, I'm sold maybe already in the past 2 days 1/3 of the booth space in our vendor hall. So if you're a vendor, and we had a wait list of about 16 or 17 vendors this year that I couldn't get to. So if you're out there and you want a spot, just email me. I'm Ted at hitscanine with the number 9.net, and we'll hook you up. But I would say probably, who knows, I'll jinx myself. By the end of the year, I won't have any booth space left.
Nice.
So.
Hell yeah.
I like it. All right, man. Well, Ted, thanks.
Yeah.
Hitscanine.net. Get on there, folks. Take a look at it.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys coming, and thanks for having me again. I love what you do.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
You got your reasons, I got my wants. Still got that feeling, but I'm too old to die young now.
Working Dog Radio was graciously granted permission to use this music by Brother Deeg. Be sure to check him out at brotherdeeg.blogspot.com. That's spelled brotherdeege.blogspot.com. Be sure to buy him a beer at Amazon, iTunes, or CD Baby, or anywhere you stream your music. Working Dog Radio was edited and co-produced by Alicia Brandt.